Morning Leos. This is going to be a mid-month reading for Sun, Moon and Ascendant Leos for the second half of December. If there's anything that you'd like to know from how to find your Moon and Ascendant signs, or indeed the rest of your natal chart actually, to how to book a personal reading, what my social media links are, it's Facebook and Instagram, Scorched Earth Tarot on both. All of that information is down in the description box. Now, I've been listening to some feedback from my personal clients, and it seems I had assumed a level of knowledge about how the tarot works, like, or how it's divided, you know, the difference between major and minor arcana and the pips and the court cards and stuff like that. And that might not necessarily be the case. So I'm planning on doing a couple of videos, standalone ones, that will explain briefly how the tarot is divided and stuff. It's not going to be a teach you how to read tarot kind of thing, but it will give you a bit of an insight into what I'm wittering on about when I talk about pips or major arcana, minor arcana, that kind of thing. The other thing is the natal chart, like the importance of your moon and ascendant signs anyway. I mean, everybody knows what the sun sign is, but you know, it's like, depending on which ones you take into account, it can be a 12th or a 13th of your full chart. And certainly your moon and ascendant signs can have just as much importance as your sun sign, sometimes more so, depending on what you're you know, what you're going through at any given point. So I'm going to make a video on that as well. I'm not an astrologer, but I do have a basic understanding of it. So hopefully I'll be able to explain it to you so you can see why it would be useful to go and have a look at your moon and ascendant sign videos as well. Right, that's quite enough wittering from me. Goes in there. Let's get some cards for you, Leo. Oh, right then, we have 3 cards. The last 2 weeks of December for Leo, please. First one is the Queen of Swords. It's interesting. It's air energy. So we're talking Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. 2 more cards for Leo, please. 2 more cards for Leo. Oop. I won't take that because I dropped it. But the Fool has flipped. That's a card of new starts. And the 2 of Wands, which is about being at a crossroads. It's planning your next steps. But they didn't jump out, so we're not going to take them. I'm just letting you know that they were there. 2 more cards for... Oh, I did wonder if we were going to see this card. So we've got the 4 of Wands. There's 1 more card for Leo, please. The last 2 weeks of December. 1 more card for Leo, please. What's that? And the Queen of Wands. There we go. Card that just flipped. Where has it gone? Was that a complete invention? I thought I saw a card flip. Apparently it was. Yeah. Okay, never mind. The shadow card at the bottom of the deck is the 4 of Swords. It's about taking a break from things. It's quite a restful energy, recharging your batteries. Right, we're going to get some clarifiers and then we'll get into the reading on that deck there. So 2 queens on the board and the 4 of Wands in the middle. Quite interesting that there's no major arcana on here for you yet, but anyway. Where's the Queen of Swords here for Leo, please? The last 2 weeks of December. Got the 3 of Cups. Where's the Queen of Swords here, please? Thank you. We've got the Hermit reversed. Ah, that's quite decisive energy. I like that, Leo. Where's the 4 of Wands here? I'm not taking all of those because it's 3, but there's Judgment, the Page of Swords, and the World. Yeah, I see where this is going. Just 2 cards, please, for Leo. The 4 of Wands. What is the 4 Wheel of Fortune. Card has been pure stalking me. And I'm a Leo, so that's kind of relevant. One more card for the Four of Wands, please. Strength. There we go. And the Queen of Wands. Where's the Queen of Wands here, please? Where's the Queen of Wands here? We've got the Moon. That's 4 major arcana out of the 5 cards that are down as clarifiers. Why is the Queen of Wands here, please? 5 of Swords in reverse. Wow, really interesting. Got the 4 of Cups in reverse on the bottom of the deck. Right. So the first card you've got is the Queen of Swords, and like I said, that's air energy. That's Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. It could be a woman around you, but I feel very strongly that this is your energy for the last 2 weeks of this month. Now, this Queen sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap for being cold and distant and sometimes a little bit harsh, but I feel like that's kind of undeserved. In her reverse aspect, she can be quite bitter, but the Queen of Swords tends to have lived a fairly difficult life. And it's her life experiences that have caused her to be that way. She's sometimes referred to as the widow, and she's sometimes referred to as a woman who has lost a child. But that's usually in the standard Rider-Waite, because there are little babies carved into her chair. There are none in this one, so I don't feel like that interpretation is relevant. But what the Queen of Swords is preoccupied with more than anything else is truth and justice. I mean, she's kind of a lower echo of the Justice card. Reason. She's not swayed by emotion at all. She can sniff out bullshit from a mile away. It's quite mountainous in the background, and that's what I'm talking about, is lots of adversity, lots of challenges. And she's got through it by using her intellect and not being swayed by emotional things. I'm really drawn to the fact that there's a bird on the front of the throne. I'm trying to work out what kind of bird it is. There's one up in the air, but this one looks like it looks like a hawk or a falcon or something just about to take flight. Its wings are behind it. And thinking of that as I am, I'm now thinking of the 9 of Pentacles, which is a card of self-sufficiency and independence, which are also 2 things that I would associate with this Queen in particular. Also with the Queen of Wands, who happens to be on the table here. But as an energy, this is someone who is making logical, rational decisions. She's not allowing her heart to dictate the way. She's very clearly using her head. It's taking a step back and assessing a situation for what it actually is. And maybe you've had rose-tinted glasses about something, Leo, but those are coming off, and you're feeling very strong at the moment. I think these 2 queens here, these 2 queens are extremely strong. But she's balanced because she's a lower echo of justice. Yeah. Truth with this woman is binary. Something is either true or it is not. Things are either fair or not fair. There's no grey areas with this Queen. And this is your energy right now. And the card that you've got to clarify is the 3 of Cups. Now, can sometimes talk about third-party situations, and by that I don't mean necessarily the addition of someone else in your relationship that shouldn't have been there. Sometimes it's just outside interference of any type. So this can be via a person, it could be an extra person, it could be, you know, a family member, it could be a friend, it could be things like that. You're just kind of sticking their oar in where it's not wanted. Or it can be a situation. It can be things like work. So it could be that you have been sitting on, you know, your feelings about a third-party situation that you have been in in whatever way that resonates with you, and deciding that you are no longer going to be yoked to this relationship because you see it for what it is. The other way of looking at this is that this is sometimes called the reunion card, sometimes called the reconciliation card, but it's got 3 in it, and I don't like that. Because these 2 birds that are sat on the branch, these 2 are obviously together, and this one is coming in, and whether it's talking to the birds or it's trying to shuffle closer, or you know, whatever, it's an emotional situation because the cups are present. And the fact that it seems to be taking place at sundown means, I think, that you've made a decision to move forwards. You know, let the sun set on this situation, and this would be a head over heart decision that you've made. Just let the sun set, just let it go, do these things. I mean, take it as it resonates to you. It's not entirely clear to me which way around that is. And once I've done this other card here, then I might pull another one to see if I can get a bit more clarity on it. But the second card that you got to clarify that was the Hermit in reverse. Now, this way up, the Hermit, as well as being the card of Virgo, it talks about going within. It talks about often being still enough to know that the answers that you're actually after are there and they're within you. And I think we associate emotion with turbulence sometimes, I would say. And so to be still is to be the opposite of emotional in any way. This little tortoise is having to keep very still to keep the light above him, to be able to see everything around him. If he started moving around, this lamp would fall off and then he'd be blundering about in the dark, right? And he's staying still enough until he can see the edges of the situation, maybe this situation, and then decide which direction he needs to move in. Now, it came out reversed for you. And I feel like this is because you have been in a period of contemplation, and that would absolutely fit with the other cards that are here on the table. But you're coming out of it. You know the direction that you want to go. She knows the direction that she wants to go. And it's time now. You know what you're doing. You feel strong in the decision that you've made, and you're letting the sun set on this. I'm going to pull a clarify for that just to make sure that that's where I'm going with it, but it feels, my internal tuning fork is agreeing that at least for some of you that's a possibility. If it's not, it might just be that you've made a decision about whether you do want to reconcile with other people, whether you do want to do this, and it's a decision that you are comfortable that you have made logically and rationally without being swayed by emotion, and it's still the direction that you want to go in. Why is the 3 of Cups? Why is the 3 of Cups here for Leo? Why is the 3 of Cups here? Yeah, see, on the bottom of the deck we've got the 5 of Wands, so we're talking about conflict, but because the Hermit is present here, I feel like this is an inner conflict that you have been experiencing. And the 2 cards that have come out here are the 7 of Wands and the Hierophant. So it could be that you're dealing with a Taurus. This is a card of Taurus. But this is a card of defending yourself. Now, I feel like you're defending yourself from what is expected of you. Actually, it feels like that's not a direction that you want to go in, the direction that is expected, the traditional, you know, you've decided to be your own leader. You're not waiting around for someone. You're not waiting to defend yourself from this person. Like, last couple of readings for Leo talked about someone coming back, and I am assuming from this here that actually this person has not arrived yet. I feel that quite strongly. and in not arriving, but being energetically present, at least in your mind, you've had a bit of space to have a contemplate about what it is that you want from this situation. And what you don't want is to have to defend yourself. And what you don't want is to take the road most travelled. You're doing you now. That's wonderful. I love that. And in doing so, you've put to bed all of this inner conflict that you've had about this relationship. That's the Two of Cups there. We're talking about a relationship. And heal yourself. And then we've got the World. You know, this is closing out a cycle. Now, when you close out a cycle, it doesn't necessarily have to exclude this person that you're talking about. But I feel like you've had a bit of space to contemplate, and you know the direction that you want to go in, and you've kept emotion right out of it. I really like that. That's really mature. It's cool as. But then we get to the Four of Wands. Now, I'm going to get the obvious out of the way. This is the card for me of the twin flame relationship. And if you are in a twin flame relationship, my condolences, because it's horrific. Certainly my experience of it is. And that seems to be that of the other people that I've spoken to who are in that situation as well. It's not quite all as shiny and heartwarming as it's made out to be. But whether or not that applies to you, the Four of Wands is a card of celebration. Right? It's the card of what feels like home. That's how I always read this. And sometimes that can be a place, and sometimes that can be a, you know, literally four walls around you, but sometimes that can be a person. Sometimes that can be a group of people, even if you've got a really solid group of friends. You know, and this is what you're moving towards here. I take it as it resonates to you. But this is your direction of travel. This Queen of Swords is looking straight at this Four of Wands here. And this is a celebration. You know, it's a celebration of those things that mean home to you. Not in a 3D kind of way, but that you feel here. And these two cards that we've got to clarify, the Wheel of Fortune and Strength. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is the card of Sagittarius. So it could be that a Sagittarius is what feels like home to you. But if it's not, then what we've got here is a 10, right? And 10s are ends of cycles. Even though this is, you know, part of the major arcana, and it's, you know, it's barely halfway through the major arcana. It's a change of direction. It's a change of fortune, right? And I only ever see this really when your fortunes are about to improve. And the thing that I like about this depiction over others in the deck is that whereas others have got a very clear wheel that's going round and round and round, this is messier. And you see how all of the threads are connected. It's almost a bit webby, in fact. If you were sat in here, in the middle of this wheel somewhere, it would actually be quite difficult to perceive a clear rolling around of fortune, you know. I think you'd be more concerned about getting spiked with one of these twigs. But sat back and detached from the situation, looking at it from the outside, there is a clear circle going on here. There is a clear movement going on here. And just because you can't perceive it, doesn't mean that it's not happening. You know, the owl is overseeing it all, and the owls are very wise. But the Wheel of Fortune tends actually to work in a fairly kind of webby sort of apparently disjointed sort of way. You know, it's someone just turning up where you didn't expect them. It's bumping into them at the supermarket. You know, it's those kind of things that we perceive as coincidence. And I feel like this card portrays that better than most I've seen in other decks, because everything is connected. If you tug on one of those, you know, ribbons, one of those threads, it's tugging somewhere else, but it can be right over the other side of the circle. We are all connected. And then we come to strength. Now, strength is your card, and whilst it's beautiful, my heart sinks a little bit when I see it, because this talks about character, talks about strength of character. It talks about that internal strength that appears in a Leo when everything is going to shit around you, and instead of going to bits about it yourself, you somehow, every single time, pick yourself up by the scruff of the neck and you keep on moving. It's an incredible gift, but it's very hard won. And when it appears in a reading, my heart sinks a little bit, because it means that those, you know, that internal stuff that we've suffered and you know, built on year after year after year after year is going to come into play again. But it's a very soft depiction, you know, and he has a rose in his mouth. It feels gentler. Whatever it is that you're picking yourself up and moving along with. And there's a lemniscate on the lion's head there, like the symbol of infinity right there. You know, everything goes around, you know, all bits of that symbol are connected, even if there are opposite ends of it, just as this is here. I feel like it's asking you to have faith, that just because you cannot see what is happening, it doesn't mean that there isn't something going on. You know, there's a sun at the top of the strength card, which, you know, would be obvious because Leo is ruled by the sun. But there's a sun at the bottom of the Wheel of Fortune as well. And if you look at it like that, that sun is directly over the head of the Leo. Like, the Leo cannot perceive at this point what is going on here. I'll pull another card for that. How's the Wheel of Fortune and strength? Yeah. So now we've got the King of Swords. I've got 6 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I just mentioned that. That's a card of victory. It's also the card of Leo. And I take, for that reason, I'm going to take it as confirmation of what I've just said. But we've got the King of Swords and we've got the High Priestess. So we now have a pair on the board, potentially. So it could be that you're dealing with an Aquarius or a Gemini or a Libra. But the King of Swords he's the active, energy, the active presentation of the energy of the air suit. So this is you being receptive here. And she's kind of beckoning someone forwards, you know, she's everything that I described before, but as a queen, she's a receptive energy. Here we have a king, here we have a direction, here we have somebody who will move to get the things. And he's a master communicator, he's excellent at expressing himself. And I feel like that is your energy. But it's, again, it's taking the emotion out of the situation. It's using logic and reason to move forwards. Take it as it resonates to you. But then we've got the High Priestess, and the High Priestess is the card of Pisces. And this woman sits entirely unlike the Queen of Swords, for whom there is no grey space. There's only black and white. This woman is surrounded by the black and the white. This is the end and the beginning. And she sits in what effectively would be the grey space in between. She knows everything. You know, she's the keeper of secrets. She doesn't volunteer what she knows, but she sees everything, she observes everything, she takes it in, and when she is guided to act, which is very rare because this is a very passive card, it is entirely intuition guided. And this seems like a really incredible balance, you know, those two cards there. Now, it could be that this is your person right here, and that they are holding a secret, or, you know, whatever. But I feel like more it's sense of you just moving forwards, regardless of what the other person is doing. Not waiting. There's an incredible knowing here. We've got the High Priestess, and then a bit further along we've got the Moon, and we've also got the Hermit. You know, you've done your contemplation, you've done all of that, and you have arrived at the answers. And now with the answers, you're moving forwards. And this is going to require you to take some of that inner strength and move forwards. But everything is being overseen. Everything is connected. So you've got to do what you've got to do, Leo. And then here we are, Queen of Wands. And unlike the Queen of Swords, she is sat directly facing us. Yeah. She is unapologetically, or what now? She's unapologetically herself. Yeah. It's quite a masculine energy, the Queen of Wands, even though it's the female presentation of the energy. Fire energy is masculine. And she looks completely unbowed. Like, you know, the wand that she's holding is really straight. You know, right there. And she's got a flower in hand as well. And there's a notion of vulnerability, almost, implied by the flower and in the mouth of the lion there, you know. It feels like you've leveled up and you've matured an awful lot. And it's potentially because of the absence of the person who has, you know, been on your mind recently. You've looked within and you've worked out what you're made of. You've asked yourself whether you're going to sit around here and wait, and the answer is no. So they either come and find you or they lose what you have to offer. That's what I'm saying here. Now, the two cards that you have underneath the Queen of Wands are the Moon, which is the card of Cancer, and the Five of Swords. But the Five of Swords came out in reverse. And just as the High Priestess is a card of the internal, and the Hermit is the card of the internal, the Moon, for me, is also a card of the internal. Like, it can talk about secrets and things that are hidden and things that are obfuscated and all that kind of thing. But for me, it's the subconscious, it's the inner workings of you, you know. And sometimes things in there can be hidden, and they can be secret, and they can be, you know, repressed. But these two cards together make me think that you have done your work. You know who you are. You know what you are capable. You know what you're moving forwards with. And actually, a lot has been illuminated for you in this period, in this time frame. And some of what has been apparent to you is that the way that you've been treated is actually not fantastic. Like, the Five of Swords this way it's very cutting. I mean, it's quite a visceral scene, that. But fives are always about conflict and change. Usually uncomfortable, to be fair. And this earth one's been literally severed in half. Which is interesting, because what a twin flame is literally a soul that has been severed into two pieces at some point so that they can go off and learn what they need to learn separately. It's a super fast leveling up, almost. And here we have something cut in two. But it's come out in the reverse. So in the upright, it means, you know, generally shitty behaviour. It's somebody who will say anything to win. It's somebody who wants to win no matter what. And this isn't you. Like, that's not your energy. It's coming out in the reverse because you're putting your swords down. Like, you don't need all of those swords. You've got one sword, and it's the sword of truth. Right there, it's the sword of you knowing, you know, using your intellect, using your reason. You've worked out how you're moving forwards, and you're putting your swords down because you don't want the conflict. Right? You've grown out of needing this in your life, possibly. It's funny, it feels like this has been a little moment of introspection that you've needed to have, that was caused by the possibility of this person coming back. It's almost like it pushed you a little bit more to have a bit more of a think about it, a bit more of a, you know, to be able to put the emotion down and look at it logically. And that's what you've done. But then the Wheel of Fortune is here and the Four of Wands is here. And it feels like maybe that was the last little push that you needed to take in order that you might get to the exact point that you are now. You know, it's more of these strings. You know, maybe watching the December reading that you did, you know, brought all this up into your face, made you consider how you would react if this happened. And that has pushed you that little bit further towards where you need to be. I don't know, like, you take it as it resonates to you, but that does seem very much like what I'm being told here. Five of Swords. Because we've got the Knight of Swords and we've got the Two of Cups. Yeah, the Knight of Swords is about, you've got the Tower at the bottom of the deck here as well. The Knight of Swords charges in and he's a messenger. You know, it's an extremely active card. It's the fastest card in the deck, right? In terms of movement. And he's got a sword, he's got truth, he's on his way to somewhere, to impart information, ideas, conversation. You know, this knight here has got something to say, and it's not you. That's not your energy, because you are very still. Like, that is very, very clear. Everything about you here is still and considered. This is fast, and it's coming in for information about this. And it's going to shock you, because I think maybe you were sat waiting for this person to arrive and they didn't, and you were like, well, this is obviously not about me. And in that time you've had maybe the disappointment, I don't know, I mean, the disappointment of it has caused you to go within and have a little, you know, hermit moment and stuff, and then you come out the other side going, no, actually, I am okay. I'm all right with this person not coming back. Why is the Knight of Swords and the Two of Cups, please, for Leo? Yeah, we've got the Chariot. This is about moving forwards. This person wants to move forwards with you. Nine of Cups on the bottom of the deck. Like, really kind of hoped we were going to be talking about something other than this today, but like, apparently not. Like, the universe works in mysterious ways, but this little gap that you've had has caused a leveling up, and it's put you where you needed to be. But at the same time, you have free will, and if in this period of contemplation that you've had, where you've worked out, you know, that you can move forwards without this person, if you've decided that that is still what you want, then it doesn't matter how much this knight comes in and starts talking. It doesn't matter how much they want that. You know, it's about boundaries now. It's about what you will accept and what you will not accept. And you do what's right for you. Can I have some cards of advice for Leo, please? For fuck's sake. Like, the card that's just dropped out is Judgment. Like, coming back. Card of advice for Leo, please. Right, so Judgment is the card of Scorpio. It's the card of second chances, potentially. It's a card of resurrecting things that you thought were dead. But it can also be a card of judgment. And let's not forget, that's where it just popped out as I was talking about you making the decision. This is you making the call now on what you want. I think that perhaps for some time you were subject to their whims. You know, you did what they wanted because you're a Leo and because you just love unconditionally. And as long as that person, you feel, loves you back, there is literally anything that you will put up with to keep that person happy. And do you know what? Like, that's not okay. That's not fair. Right? And you've leveled up now. You know, you're rocking all of these queens. You've got the High Priestess, you've got this knowledge, you know, you've got the Hierophant as well. And that's quite a spiritual combination together there. It's following your own path is what it is. And if this person comes along and you want them there, then that's all well and good. But if they don't come back, you're still good. And if they come back and you don't want them, you're still good. This is incredible. I really, really like this. I have one more card. Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, you know how to look after yourself now. That's 3 queens we've got on the table now. The Queen of Pentacles for me is the queen of self-care. She's the one who looks after herself. She's... This pentacle here, increasingly over the last few months, the court cards, the page, the knight, and the queen, not the king. They're talking about self-worth. It's talking about your own sense of self. It's about boundaries. It's about keeping you safe. It's about what you want. And here she is, the Queen of Pentacles. Like, you do you. Wow. You know, it's telling that the Queen of Cups is not the one that's on the table right now. Like, and we've got cards of self-determination. You know, the ability to choose the direction that you want to go in and going that way. We've got the High Priestess who knows all of the things. We've got the King of Swords who is a master communicator. We've got the Queen of Swords who, you know, is able to objectively assess things without bringing emotion in. We've got the Hierophant, you know, it's leading the way. Like, I feel like you've really stepped into your own. And this person, whether you like it or not, this person has been a big part of that. And it's hurt you. There's no doubt about that. It's absolutely hurt you, but you've taken that pain and you've turned it around into something that is actually fulfilling for you. You know, something that makes you realize that you're not at the bottom of the pile when it comes to, you know, what is wanted and how to move forwards and how to proceed. You know, you are important. And sometimes I think Leos worry that they're not. No, it's not even that. They don't worry that they're not. It's that they will literally subjugate themselves and their needs and what they want for someone else. Yeah, it's elements of codependency, certainly. One more card for Leo, please. One more card for Leo. I can't make it up. Strength. Like, yeah, I love it. So in terms of signs that we've got on the table, we've got Virgo, we've got Taurus, we've got Leo, but that's you. There's no doubt that's you. We've got Pisces, Cancer, and then possibly an air sign. Yeah, so, and it doesn't have to be the sun sign, that could also be the moon or ascendant sign as well. So we're looking at like Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, potentially. But regardless, this is about what you want. You've really empowered yourself. You are a whole being all by yourself, and you are choosing your own step forwards. With the Wheel of Fortune there, I feel like there are things coming up for you, Leo, that are going to be tremendously exciting, but you needed to get to this point before you started. Before you were able to start experiencing them, I think. How wonderful. Right, I'm going to leave it there. And I will see you for the January 2020 mid-month readings. No, full month readings. Oh, brain's feeling a bit like porridge today. Anyway, love to you all, and I will see you in January.